Hotel family, Uncle Josh and Neb. This is your brother Wajedi and my aunt, Hotel Bakamoon. And I would like to talk to you today about this particular item right here, this Ankh. Why do I have this Ankh? Why it was given to me? And what it means to me. I realize that different people out there have different perspectives, opinions about what this is, what it means to have one, and to be given one, to carry one. So I would like to share my story in terms of how this came about. So many of you know I take the Mudu Netra. I've been taking the Mudu Netra for quite some time under the Grandmaster Mfundishi Jhutyms and Haru. Up to the point now where I'm teaching the Mudu Netra. So it's definitely an honor. But aside from just learning the Mudu Netra, when I came into the shrine of Jehuti Hu Nephu, I saw the other classmates, dressed in white, and they were in a particular class setting. This class was before the Mudu Netra class that day, and I happened to ask what it was about, and they told me that it was initiation. My brother Patai actually told me. And he told me to ask, Seba and Mfundishi about it. Of course I did, and he told me, yeah, and you'll be an excellent candidate, my brother, So, so it's a spiritual journey, that I knew, but didn't exactly know what type of spiritual journey, I was going to get myself into, obviously. So I like to put into a story form for you guys to, perhaps embrace the way it came to me, or I felt it, So upon taking the Mudu Netra in the temple, in the shrine, Seba and Mfundishi basically took us on a journey, on a spiritual journey, the initiates. So I like to think of the shrine as like a porthole, that we went through. So imagine that we all were in a meditative position. I like to think of Ulumwengu, however you meditate. And remember, it's all about consciousness. So you prepped us, you have to first realize that we are Pan-Africanists, If we don't realize we're Africans, then, we're way far behind than we think. So this is what, the books that we had to read, and so on and so forth. But it's to prep us. It's to prep us for the journey. And I like to think of the journey in terms of how we traveled to the spiritual world, or back to where we need to go, which is Sankofa. So the great master teacher, or should I say the Grandmaster teacher, took us on a spiritual journey on what is called a weya, which is a divine boat, right? So the initiates, along with myself, pardon the airplane that's going by. I live by the airport, so the initiates and myself got onto this divine boat called the weya. He told us to take off our shoes because the boat is holy, right? It's clean, it's pure. So we got into this boat, and then on the boat we noticed certain names that were, painted on the boat. Great names that we all knew, like Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, Dr. Henry Clark, Dr. Ben, Sheikh Enti Diop. These great names were all around the boat, and all of us were smiling to get on the boat, and the Grandmaster teacher Mfundishi Jhutyms is the leader of the boat. It's kind of like the boat of Ra, that goes in the spiritual world, the journey, that circle, the never-ending circle, to the Dua and back, to the terrestrial and celestial and back again. And so now, for the boat to move, the Grandmaster teacher said this one word. He said in a tune, Sankofa. And we all looked And then we all knew what to do, so we repeated after him, Sankofa. And the boat started to shake. And he repeated again, and repeated again, Sankofa. 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 So now the boat started to move, and everybody started smiling. So as the Grandmaster teacher would say Sankofa in a certain manner, we repeat it in the same manner. And if he was saying a strong way, we repeat it in a strong way. And that's the way the boat will move, the divine boat. So we went through all the different rivers, the paths in the United States of America here, where we all in the diaspora from the motherland, the Mississippi River. Down south, we went through all the journeys and saw our recent ancestors. Sankofa, Sankofa. So the boat kept moving until it went out from the shores of Virginia and through the islands, and we started seeing some familiar places. And you hear some of the brothers in the group, yeah man, that's my island there man, Jamaica, big up, yeah man. And then the boat kept going, Sankofa, Sankofa. And you hear my own voice saying, oh, ça c'est pays, Haïti, oh, ça passe, Sankofa. And the boat will go through various islands that we recognize our own people that were split up before we got here in these states, these United States of America. And the Grandmaster teacher will notice everybody. And for a split second, he'll come out of his trance and open his eyes. And then he noticed all of us still back at the shrine in meditative stance, smiling. And he'll close his eyes again, back in the boat. Sankofa. So the boat keeps moving. Everybody saw the different islands, different various brothers and sisters, families, distant cousins, that we recognize, our own people. And the great master teacher said, pay attention and take note. Take note up here and take note here. As you can see, all the various different practices that you see amongst the different islands. Pay attention. Sankofa, Sankofa. And then the whispering of the term Sankofa started getting softer and softer till we reach a point of still waters, and we all just thinking and meditating and observing and absorbing and embracing the various differences and similarities between the different tribes and cultures and ethnic groups, that realize that, hey, we are one family. Sankofa. The Grandmaster teacher nods his head, seeing that they start to understand. So now he starts to instruct that we're about to go through the rough waters to go to our destination. So he told us to brace ourselves and to unite even stronger, to operate in unity. So we held the boat in our hands together because we were about to reach some turbulence in the waters. For the same water that was easy for the travel from the motherland to the Caribbeans, the same waters now becomes tough to go through. So now the Grandmaster teacher changed the pace and the rhythm of the boat. He says, Sankofa, 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 Sankofa. And we all will repeat Sankofa, 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 Sankofa. And a great way the great divine boat started rumble. Sankofa, Sankofa, Sankofa. And then sure enough, the rhythm started to change and the water started to get stronger and the boat started going, matching the strength of the currents. Sankofa, Sankofa, Sankofa. And then we looked ahead and we saw the rough tides coming through. And then the great Grandmaster teacher says, Sankofa. And we all said, Sankofa, and the boats pew right through the rough tides of the waters until we all took a deep breath. And a great Grandmaster teacher says, Sankofa. And we all said, Sankofa. As if our heartbeats and our breath match the rhythm and the motion of the boat. We finally reached the still waters of the motherland. The happy river was towards the middle from where we were in the west. So we beheld all these different tribes and ethnic groups along the way. And our Grandmaster teacher says, pay attention. Write what you see up here and in here. And we noticed all the differences and similarities between the ethnic groups that we saw in the islands. That we saw that, wait a minute, it's the same people, the same family, same brothers and sisters. Sankofa. So the boat started traveling towards the center and down, or should I say up south, to come back up, or should I say come back down north and travel as we get onto the happy river. Sankofa, Sankofa. We all kept repeating and singing along as we kept noticing all the greatness throughout time, the cataracts of the Nile River, the different wonders our ancestors did, created, manifested, shared, enjoyed. Sankofa. We kept writing, we kept recording in our minds and our hearts. So we kept going up south. I'm sorry, down north, all the way up until we reach the mouthpiece of all of Africa, Kemet. As we went through South Africa, right, through Sudan, Ethiopia, Kush, all the way up to Kemet. And notice all the stories on the walls. And there, the great Grandmaster teacher says, no need to write any longer, for the stories right here, all on the walls. So you see, the Madu Nature keeps the story, keeps the legacy, the culture, the greatness. So he says, all these things you need to know to keep the greatness alive in your lifetime, going forward, as we go back to the physical realm. So we all looked around, we said, wait a minute, Grandmaster teacher. There's so much to learn, so much to know. How are we going to remember all these things? How are we going to put all these things in our minds to remember these things so we can take it towards the future in our time? So the Grandmaster teacher says, hold out your fist. So we all did. And he says, there's the mineral domain, the plant domain, the animal domain, the human domain, and the spirit domain. So we said, okay, what does that mean? Okay, so we can remember that, but what does that mean? So the Grandmaster teacher says, well, if you see that all the things, all the minerals that makes up what you see today, if you understand and study them, what makes up all these things, that the physical structures that you want to understand, the properties, how you can manipulate them, or how it's connected to nature and the high nature, the most high, right? The great nature, the mineral domain teaches everything regarding that. So you learn that, just remember the mineral domain, the plant domain, all the herbs, fruits and vegetables that you need to know as your medicine, as your food. You learn the plant domain, see the connection to the earth, right? All the plants and trees and seeds, understand the root of it all from the nature. He says, study the animal domain and see how your own instincts, how you learn to react to nature, how we learn from the animals, learn, ate from the plants and the trees, and the fruits and vegetables that we learn from them too, right? In the human domain. So we learn through Operation Unity, observance of Ma'at, that we can live together in harmony and do the greatest things possible in our lifetimes. In the spirit domain, to see how all these can be permeated into the consciousness when you give up the flesh. It's all spirit, where we see you connected to the mineral, to the plants, to the animal, and the human essence of yourself. The spirit domain permeates through them all. So he says, now close back your fists. And from that instant, he snaps his finger, and we all woke up or opened our eyes back in the shrine. And so those of us that takes the pledge of saying that we know this, and we shall learn and teach and share and master what we know and protect it. Our Grandmaster teacher gave life to those who takes that pledge. And so I have received this Ankh from my left hand and placed in my right, so I can give what I know from my teacher, what I've learned from my spirit, from my soul. So this is not kumbaya. This is about science, spiritual science, coming from my ancestors, from the great motherland of Africa. So I'm your brother, Jhutyms Mfundishi. I stand on my square base on these principles, governed by my odds, that I am here to help, to heal in terms of showing you the way. No magical spells, no kumbaya, but the spiritual science of all areas regarding life, to find out what is intrinsically wrong or needs to be addressed to help you, to heal you. So I hope to represent this Ankh in a manner of good character in reference to my heart. Dua nature. Ankh Jhutyms. Ahatu.